All right, let's dive into the story of one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, notorious women in all of history, Agrippina the Younger. We're talking about someone who was right at the absolute epicenter of power, ambition, and, yeah, a whole lot of murder in the Roman Empire. So, to really get a grip on Agrippina's influence, all you have to do is look at her family tree. I mean, check this out. She was the great-granddaughter of Augustus, the first Roman emperor. She was the grandniece of Tiberius, the sister of the infamous Caligula, the wife of Claudius, and of course the one everyone knows, the mother of Nero. Her entire life, literally her entire life, was lived in the shadow of the throne. And let me tell you, that was a place of incredible privilege, but also extreme, extreme danger. And this one chilling quote, it really says it all. The story goes that when astrologers predicted her son would become emperor, but also that he would kill her, her response was supposedly, "Let him kill me, provided that he becomes emperor." Wow. Just think about that for a second. For Agrippina, her son's power was worth any price, even her own life. So, what on earth could shape that kind of incredible, deadly ambition? Okay, first things first. To get Agrippina, you have to get the family she was born into, the Julio-Claudian dynasty. This was the very first imperial family of Rome. And believe me, calling them dysfunctional doesn't even scratch the surface. Just look at this lineup of emperors. It shows you just how unstable her world was. It all starts with Augustus, the guy who founded the empire. Then you get the paranoid and cruel Tiberius. We'll get back to him. He's the one who basically destroyed her family. After him comes her own brother, the notoriously unhinged Caligula. And then her uncle, Claudius, who she ends up marrying him. And to top it all off, there's her son, Nero, whose path to the throne she literally paved with blood. This was not some orderly, stable line of succession. No way. It was a violent, chaotic free-for-all. Right, so that ruthless ambition we were talking about, it didn't just come out of nowhere. It was forged in the fires of a childhood that was, frankly, horrific. For her, survival was a daily, desperate struggle. Just try to imagine what she saw as a kid. Her father, Germanicus, was the super popular general, and then he just dies, mysteriously. Her mother, Agrippina the Elder, straight up accuses Emperor Tiberius of poisoning him. And for that, Tiberius exiles her and Agrippina's two older brothers to a prison island, and there, they were starved to death. Systematically. Her mother was even beaten so badly that one of her eyes popped out. Can you imagine? The lesson she learned from all this was brutal and simple. In Rome, you either have power or you get destroyed by the people who do. Period. And her personal life? Yeah, that was no better. At just 13 years old, she was married off to this man who was famously, despicable. When their son was born, the future Emperor Nero, her husband supposedly said that nothing produced by the two of them could possibly be good for the state or for the people. What a thing to say about your own kid. And man, was that a chillingly accurate prophecy. And just when you think, okay, it can't possibly get any worse, her own brother, Emperor Caligula, accuses her of plotting to kill him. So he exiles her to a remote island, the very same island where her mother had been murdered. And then he sells off all her stuff. Everything. She was left with absolutely nothing. But here's the thing about Agrippina. She was a survivor. When Caligula was finally assassinated, she was allowed to come back to Rome. And that's when she began this incredibly calculated, methodical climb right back to the very top. Okay, so what was her masterstroke? She seduced and married her own uncle, the new Emperor Claudius. Now, Roman law totally forbade this. So what did she do? She decided Claudius changed the law. Simple as that. As soon as they were married, she was granted the title Augusta. And this was a huge deal. It wasn't just some fancy name. It made her a living goddess. It gave her real, official political power that no Roman woman had ever held before. They were even putting her face on coins right next to the emperor's. So as her influence is growing, so are the whispers about her past. See, before she married Claudius, her second husband, a rich politician named Crispus, had also died. Mysteriously, and pretty conveniently, he had named her son Nero as his heir. So naturally, rumors started flying that she'd poisoned him for his money. She was definitely building a reputation. And all of this brings us to the one crime that would define her legacy forever. Now that her own power was secure, she set her sights on the ultimate prize, getting that throne for her son Nero. And there was just one thing, or, one person, standing in her way. Her husband, the Emperor Claudius. The ancient accounts of his death, they read like a modern thriller. Okay, so step 1. She allegedly gets this notorious poison expert, Locusta, out of prison to help her. Step 2. She serves Claudius a plate of his absolute favorite food, mushrooms, but these are laced with a slow-acting poison. Now, when Claudius inevitably gets violently sick, they call for a doctor. But here's the twist. The doctor is in on it. He tells everyone he's going to use a feather to help Claudius vomit, but that feather has been pre-soaked in a second, much faster-acting poison. It was a brilliant and incredibly devious plan. And it worked perfectly. Claudius was dead. Agrippina immediately locked down the palace, made sure the guards were on her side, and then she presented her 17-year-old son to the world. Just like that, Nero was the new emperor of Rome. And Agrippina? She was the real power behind the throne. She had won. Game over. Or so she thought. Because in what has to be the most tragic irony of her entire life, the son she had risked everything for, the son she had killed for, he would be the one to order her death. So Nero, he's getting tired of his mom pulling all the strings. He decides she has to go. But there's a problem. You can't just publicly execute a living goddess like the Augusta. It had to look like an accident. So he comes up with this wild, elaborate plan. He invites her on a trip and puts her on this custom-built boat, one that was designed to literally collapse and sink right in the middle of a bay. I mean, it sounds like an elaborate, totally foolproof plan, right? But what did the all-powerful emperor of Rome not account for? What did he forget about his own mother? Turns out, his mother was a strong swimmer. As the whole boat is falling apart around her and sailors are literally beating her attendant to death, Agrippina just swims to shore. And you can bet she knew in that exact moment that her son had tried to kill her. So when Nero gets the news that his crazy boat plan failed, he panics. He drops all pretense and just sends assassins to finish the job. And the story goes that as they surrounded her, she bared her stomach and told them, "Smite my womb," basically telling them to stab the very part of her body that had brought a monster like him into the world. So that brings us to the big question. How should we remember Agrippina? Was she a ruthless poisoner? A brilliant politician? Well, like with most things in history, the truth is, it's complicated. Okay, look. On one hand, the case for her being a monster is pretty strong, right? She was constantly surrounded by suspicious deaths, and it seems pretty clear she used murder as a political tool. But then you have to step back and look at the other side. You have to consider the context. Almost everything we know about her was written by men, and a lot of them were her political enemies. It's also a fact that in ancient Rome, the words for adulteress and poisoner were often used almost interchangeably. It kind of suggests that any woman who had real sexual or political power was automatically seen as untrustworthy and, well, dangerous. So that leaves us with the final big question. Was Agrippina some uniquely evil monster, driven by this bottomless, ruthless ambition? Or was she a brilliant and incredibly resilient mastermind who just understood the brutal rules of the game in Roman politics and became a master of the only version of that game she was ever allowed to play? I'll leave that one for you to decide.